Hey everybody, I am AR Mar, and what I watched today is Book 3, Chapter 21 of Avatar The Last Airbender. Sozins Comet, Part 4, Avatar Aang. That's right, we're finally at the series finale of Avatar The Last Airbender. It's been, 3-4 months since I started doing these videos? It's amazing how time flies. Before I get started, I'd like to give a shout out to a great friend of mine. Well, a few great friends of mine. Without their support, without their advice, I never would have started doing this, let alone got this far. The first is my go-to man, Killerpeachy. He's been great at giving me advice. His feedback has been invaluable, and I can't thank him enough for helping me produce this series. Another is the Average Gamer. He too has given me a lot of advice and support in producing this series. So, thank you to both of you guys. And if you guys are interested in checking them out, they do a lot of video game related stuff on YouTube, and I'll be linking their channels in the description below. Without further ado, let's get to the episode. We start right where we left off, with Ozai pummeling Aang's rocky shell with fire in an attempt to flush the Avatar out. As this goes on, we transition above to Toph and Sokka, the latter having Toph metal bend the rudder to force this latest ship to slam into its counterparts. They are quickly spotted by the soldiers, and after a brief fight scene where Sokka loses his sword, we get a moment that looks hopeless. Sokka struggling to hold on to Toph and keep her from falling as a squad of firebenders line up. Right at the last moment, as Sokka declares that this time Boomerang isn't coming back, Suki slams another airship into the one they're on, giving Toph and Sokka a safe platform to drop onto. And she has just huge smile on her face, and it is an awesome moment. Yeah, Sokka's leg has been hurt by the falls, but if it weren't for Suki here, it could have been way worse. We transition back to Aang in his rock bubble, and as the bubble is smashed and Aang is slammed against a rock, his chakra that Azula sealed is broken open, and Aang emerges in the Avatar state, in a cool moment grabbing the Fire Lord by his goatee and just sort of pulling him down before blasting him back. Avatar state Aang starts bending the elements together, and for a moment it even looks like he's doing firebending octopus style as he gathers the four elements in this bubble around him. We return on that note to Ba Sing Se and Bumi facing down a row of Earthbender tanks. Now, from what I've heard, in the Shyamalan movie, it took, 4 or 5 men to move a pebble. Here we see that all it takes to move 5 tanks is one old Bumi. Math. We move for a moment to Iroh, as he burns the Fire Nation flag off of the Earth Nation palace. A look of resolve in his eyes as he gives the Earth Nation back its capital. And then we're back to Aang smacking down Ozai in full Avatar state. He is amazing in this short little scene here, flying unaided and at one point turning a rock into a million little machine gunning missiles that he just blasts apart a huge section of the pillars that him and Ozai are fighting in. And then we check in on Zuko and Azula's duel. As you might remember at the end of the last episode, Zuko was lying injured on the ground, barely, not even able to pull himself up. Well, as he's trying to pull himself up, Katara moves to help him, but is stopped by Azula. She's got into full babbling, laughing, crazy smile mode, and it is scary. Katara barely manages to avoid the assault, using her waterbending to great effect as she does her little ice skating thing and moving around, and really she's trying to, stop Azula and buy Zuko time to get up. In an impressive display, Katara uses this grating system with water underneath it to freeze them both in a block of ice, and then freeze herself momentarily to use a chain and bind Azula's hands to the grate. And without the ability to move, of course, Azula is just she can't do anything. She is just trapped there. And of course she freaks out about this, but Katara isn't even paying attention. She rushes right over to Zuko's side and heals him. For a moment, it looks like the worst has happened. But then he speaks, thanking her, and Azula is just really losing it, spitting fire and struggling against her bonds. Her breakdown turns to sobbing as we return to Ozai and Aang's battle, flying among the pillars. Like I said last episode, this show they'd show me why I should feel sorry for Azula. She has been forged this way her entire life. To think that fear is the way to run things. To think that that power is all that matters. To believe that she is destined and the only one who should rule or win. So now, defeated by a waterbender and her brother, stripped of her power. I mean, yeah, she still has her firebending, but she's been stripped of every victory. She has no friends, no supporters. She is completely and utterly alone, and probably completely confused as to how that happened when she has been told all her life how perfect she is. So again, kudos to this series for making me feel bad for the villains, as it were. No one is truly evil. Anyhow, now that we're back with Ozai and Aang, Ozai has no hope at all against the Avatar state. Comet or not, he is fighting against every Avatar that ever lived. Aang is using the elements beautifully in this scene, countering every move Ozai makes and beating him down, as he forces the self-named Phoenix Lord into a corner. Catching Ozai with a water whip, he slams him down on a pillar that encases his hands and feet with rock before approaching. Avatar state Aang forms this spear out of air and rock and water and starts bringing it down on Ozai, but at the last moment, Aang himself pulls back. The water lands gently on Ozai as Aang lands on the pillar, giving him one last chance, saying, he won't kill him. And this is a great scene because it's not Aang running out of juice and falling out of the Avatar state. Aang is in complete control of both himself and the Avatar state. He is fully realized. Ozai calls him weak and tries to attack Aang from behind, but Aang, using the ground senses he gained from Toph's teaching, sees it coming and traps Ozai's arms and easily repels the blast. And then he just simply lays his hands gently on Ozai. We discover something we didn't see before with the giant lion turtle. Aang learned a power from him that predates the Avatar. The ability to bend the energy within a person. As we see their energy emerge, we also see Ozai start to flow into Aang. The lion turtle had warned him that if he was not completely resolute, if his own energy was not unmoving, then Ozai's would take him over and corrupt him. We see it nearly happen before Aang forces the energy out of him and Ozai. In the end, instead of killing Ozai, he managed to take away the man's firebending, the very power that gave him any ability to be a threat to the world. In the end, Aang was completely resolute. He kept his promise never to kill, and ended the threat, restoring balance to the world, without doing the deed, without killing the man. So congratulations, Aang, and it's a really good thing you met that giant lion turtle, dude. Sokka and company congratulate Aang. They're naturally surprised to find that he found a way to avoid killing the Fire Lord. Toph remarking that he has the craziest adventures when he disappears. And really, yeah, he does. Every time he's disappeared, he's come back with some crazy story or another. Whether it's from the spirit realm or something else, Aang gets up to some awesome stuff on his own. With the others too, but still, it's funny to see just how weird the stuff he does on his own gets. We return to Zuko as we wrap up. Mai arriving, having been pardoned thanks partly to her uncle and, her boyfriend being the new Fire Lord. Mai, for once in her life, says she likes him as they kiss. None of this, I don't hate you stuff. she's actually expressing herself a little and saying, yeah, I do like you. And then she follows up with a threat that if he breaks up with her again, he will regret it. I've really come to like May, I gotta admit. She's grown on me. Sokka and Katara reunite with her proud father, and we find out in a moment later, much to Sokka's shock, that Ty Lee joined the Kyoshi warriors, having bonded with them in prison, and even taught them her little chi-blocking strikes, which is going to make them even more formidable than they ever were. In the next scene, we see something that hasn't been seen in over 100 years. The Fire Lord and the Avatar is embracing his friends, and then they go out to address an assembly of all the nations, or at least representatives of all the nations. Zuko gives a good speech about working together now to rebuild the world, and then he is finally crowned once and for all Fire Lord. We then see Zuko visiting his father in prison, ending with a question that in the tone he delivers it is so chilling. Where is my mother? Apparently that is resolved in between series comics, which maybe I'll check them out if I can find them. Hopefully they're in a collection somewhere by now, because I'm actually kind of interested in seeing that. And then we go on to Ba Sing Se, where the group is having a small get-together to celebrate in Iroh's tea shop. It is kind of funny seeing the Fire Lord serving tea, and Iroh is playing a big horn-like instrument. Sokka is off to the side doing a painting of the scene. Everyone gathers around to see how it looks, and as is tradition, his art is terrible, and everyone lets him know it. Even Momo comes over and gives him a little, like, I don't look like that, or, well, you know, how Momo says it. Or, I'm sorry, I can't do a Momo impression. The episode ends with Aang going out onto the veranda to watch the sunset, where he is joined by Katara. And this is where the episode, the season, and the series ends, with Katara kissing Aang under the setting sun. Now it seems she's sure of how she feels. And then we get a final message from the creators of the show. Just a brief title card saying, "The End." This has been an amazing series. I've loved every minute of watching it. It's hard to believe that this is set over the course of a single year in their lives, with everything we've seen them do, everything we see them go through, and how much they've developed and changed. They have accomplished amazing things for kids their ages. They were forced into this war, forced into resolving a war that's been raging since before they were born. And together, they did it. They brought peace back to the world. And yes, rebuilding is going to be hard after this. But thanks to them, they have a chance. It's not just thanks to the Avatar, it's thanks to the whole group. Without them, Aang would have had no chance. Aang could not have done any of this on his own. He needed them. And in the end, that's a lesson everyone needs to take. There are many things you can't do on your own, especially the big and important ones. There's no shame in getting help, and that's what Aang did. He let his friends help him, and everything turned out well. The earlier part, when he tried to abandon his friends thinking he had to do everything alone, everything started going wrong. No matter how naturally talented or amazing you are, you need others to support you. Anyway, I hope all of you will join me as I start to look at Reboot next, and I thank all of you for watching so far. I'll see y'all next time.